Well, hi there. How are you?
I'm fantastical. How are you today, Rose?
Good, good, good. I love your big words for how happy you are. Anyway, everybody, welcome to another episode of Casting Notes from Rose and Kim. I'm Rose
Everybody,
Rosen, and that's Kim Swanson. She's in Los Angeles, and I'm in Florida. Hi, how are you?
great. Are you staying busy, my friend?
I am. I feel like I'm busy in the clubhouse, but yeah, busy.
Isn't it strange how much our world has changed virtually? I mean, I'm not a big technology person, but this last year has forced me to learn and grow and do things that
Oh,
I
did
wouldn't
you know
normally have done,
that?
for sure. And we have a couple guests who are like pros at the virtual world when
They
it comes to
are.
our industry, right?
They are.
But let's
They
bring
are.
on our guest. We have more than one guest today.
Yes. Yay.
There's
This is
Bella
Bella.
Hibbs and her lovely mother, Faith Hibbs-Clark, two amazing casting directors, mother-daughter duo. They cover a big range, Arizona, New Mexico. They're just awesome. So welcome, guys. Thanks for
Yeah.
joining us today.
Thanks
Hello.
for coming
Thanks
and
for having
breaking our bubble of only having one guest. This is fantastic.
We're living on the edge today.
Yeah, I'm loving it. I'm loving
I
it.
would joke and say that Bella's my best attempt at cloning. You know,
Oh my God. Isn't she?
And she
I
was a
mean,
really darn good attempt too, I have to say.
yeah. She's just exquisite. You've done well.
Mhm. Sure. Well, we're talking about the virtual world, and you both are super involved with that. I know, we've talked a bit about self-taping and that sort of thing on the show before, but one thing we haven't really talked about, but I know you two are doing more of, are the actual virtual auditions. So I would love for you all to talk, and for those audience members who don't understand the difference between self-tapes and virtual auditions, maybe you all can give us an explanation of that for them.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we still do utilize self-tapes as needed, but we do like to have still some in-person, even if it's just virtual audition. So we use a couple different platforms, Casting Workbook, EcoCast Live. And this is a chance for us to be able to interact with the actor, give them a little bit more instructions, either about the scene, the role, the overall film. And then we can redirect them. So maybe they do it and it's really good, but we want to tweak a few things. And as you both know, with self-tapes, it's kind of like one and done. As soon as they send it in, there's just not a lot of time for redirecting, unless you're having a callback session, then you can bring them in and work with them. So it's been really nice. I will say right now, we're very forgiving of actors. We know that because of the pandemic, not only has everyone's lives been disrupted, but we understand that, you might be at home with your kids and your significant other and you're trying to do an audition. So we're just really grateful that actors have embraced this technology just as much as we have.
I love seeing other casting directors who are kind. I think people are scared of us. Let's just say that. I think all four of us, I know us all now, and I feel like we're all welcoming and try and keep an upbeat, positive room. And I just admire that in other people. It's what I built my business on, and I'm glad to see others did too.
We are all so lucky and blessed that we get to wake up and do what we love every day. And the people out there who have gotten jaded and bitter toward the industry, they need to find that love of their job again.
Right.
It is a lot of hard work. It's a lot of stressful nights and long nights, but at the end of the day, I really wouldn't pick anything else. And we're very lucky to be able to do that.
And I think, when the early days of lockdown, which was pretty close to, we're kind of coming up on a year, I think we all kind of questioned how things were going to go. Like, are we going to have a job? Are we going to be able to still work? How's this going to happen? So virtual auditions really was a lifesaver for us because we personally, and I don't know how you all feel about this, but we weren't the biggest fans of self-tapes. We would always say, we're casting directors. Directing is what we do. And so when an actor is doing a self-tape, they're ultimately in control. So we don't have any ability to redirect them or to work with them or to tell them when something's not working and to help them do something else. And so self-tapes, and then you never really know, are they going to be able to do what they need to do in the callback or in the role? And so self-tapes were not something that we were all that excited about before lockdown. Then when lockdown happened, it was like, oh my God, this is going to be the end of casting directors, because now it's all going to be self-tapes.
Right.
And then a little miracle happened, and that was virtual auditions. You know, this thing like Zoom, this thing like We Audition and casting workbooks and EcoCast Live and those kind of things came along, and we were like, praise baby Jesus, because there we have it. Unless you're Jewish, you know. So, but then you can praise whatever you want. But we've just found that to be such a miracle that was an option for us. And what I think that means to me is like how as people, how much we are capable of surviving, you know, pivot and survive, you know, pivot and survive. And the people who are going to really bloom and blossom during this time period are going to be the ones that are flexible enough to be able to pivot and find a new way to accomplish what we need to accomplish. And so virtual auditions are just literally a lifesaver.
Yeah.
You hit on an interesting point too, Faith. And, you know, when everything hit last March, right, and everything was suddenly shut down, like, I mean, I was working on a show for Netflix, and they said, you know, you go home and, you know, we'll be in contact. And I thought, you know, I'm going to go ahead and take my things home because this might be a couple of weeks. Right. And then, you know, and like, I never, like in a million years can my brain conceive that here we would be working from home, and it's, you know, 11 months later. Right. Like it didn't enter my thought process. So I think so many of us, casting and actors and producers alike, like we just assumed that we'd be shut down for a small period of weeks, maybe a couple months, and then we'd go back to normal, right? And what would the new normal look like when we went back, right? But we never really went back. We stayed where we are and created a new normal, which is really interesting, you know? And I'm like you, I love virtual auditions. I personally do like a big hybrid, I'll do like my first round will be self-records, and I'll get a sense of you and what you would do with your first take if I brought you in the room, right? And then if I think that there's something there that's worth directing, then I bring you back in via Zoom and we do a callback session.
That's what I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think the self-tape now for me is become almost like the headshot submission phase.
Right.
Or the pre-read that used to be.
Right.
Because often that's like a screener tool. You know, is this somebody that I would want to invite to a live virtual?
Right.
I know Bella does it a little bit differently in how she utilizes both, but they both have their place. I'm just so glad that we as casting directors still get an opportunity to work with the talent. And because it's always to their advantage to have us redirect.
Well, and they're the reason why we got in this business, because we love actors and we love working with them, right? That's why we do what we do for a living. I mean, I just love working with actors. So, you know, if I had my choice of spending my day with a director or a day with a bunch of actors, I'm going to choose the day with a bunch of actors, right?
Sure.
So it's because what I like. But you know,
I'm going to pick whoever has more wine.
Right.
Well, that's a good barometer, Bella.
There you go. Just like spin the truth.
Right. Now, we also talked about pivoting, and Faith, you're kind of the queen of being able to pivot, I got to say, because your first career, like no one would, I don't think would ever have chosen that thinking that's going to like lead them into casting, but it was such a great segue for you. And now you use that first career and teaching. You have your own method of teaching. I would love for you to talk about that. I know Bella helps with that too, but tell our viewers about that.
So one thing that a lot of people don't even know about me, even some people that are close to me don't know that I actually started off as a communications expert, specializing in deception detection. So that's the ability to read somebody's body language and determine if how they're feeling and if that's likely to be a lie or not. And so I worked in that field. I worked with a lot of trial attorneys. I worked with some federal agents, CEOs. Towards the end of my career, I started working with politicians who were particularly interested in finding out how I could detect a lie so that they could lie without being detected.
Right, right.
So I called that reverse engineering. They wanted to figure it out so that I could help them, lie without being detected. So ultimately, working with politicians kind of made me feel jaded towards the industry. And when I went into casting, I realized one really important thing that all actors should understand, and that is everything you do in front of that camera is a lie. This is not you. And
Right.
so whereas I didn't want to use reverse engineering to help politicians lie, it seemed like kind of a cool thing to do for actors. I can make your lie come across as very believable based on the same science that I used working in deception detection.
Genius.
And so from there, I was able to develop this whole course curriculum that's called the communication method for actors. And it all has to do with how the brain perceives information, how your body reacts to that information, how the director perceives that information, and how you respond to it. So there are scientific principles that are non-negotiable. They just are based on science. And I used to teach those kind of concepts to trial attorneys and federal agents and all of these things. When I came into the casting world, I would look at actors and I would think, why y'all making it so hard? Like, has anybody taught you this stuff? No. They're out there doing their stretches and, chanting their mantras and doing all this stuff. I'm like, what are you doing? To me, it seems so simple. And then I quickly learned that they weren't learning these things. And so I made that a point to teach them these very simple yet unheard of principles in science that they could utilize in their acting. And of course, it took off. It was really popular, but I was one person trying to travel all around the country. We even did a retreat in France. But I was one person trying to, kind of cover a territory. So one, I had to clone myself. That would be... And two, you talk about pivoting and how wonderful, the silver lining to all of this has been. Now the world is my marketplace. And so communication method for actors is, in particular, has taken off during this time period because our classes are online. And when you get like these old crotchety people, they're like, oh, in fact, we were in a group one time, you and I, Kim, and somebody was like, I don't know, should I even bother to take classes online? And I think even you, Kim, said it. You're like, hello, that's where the castings are. So if you can't do a class online, how the heck are you going to do virtual castings if you don't know that medium? So,
one of them.
Well, and plus your class is now an on-camera class.
Exactly. And one of the great things about her method is it's really focused on empowering the actor. First of all, we use new scripts, new materials, because let's get real, you're not going to have more than a couple days for an audition with a script. So I personally get frustrated with these acting schools and coaches when they're working on the same scene for a month, 2 months. And I'm like, what? So we want to empower the actors because, we're not going to be there with every audition or every coaching call. So they need to have the tools to be able to recreate that on their own. And that's our biggest mission, is to have actors understand that we're empowering you with these techniques so that you can recreate it.
That's so great. Great.
Love it.
Yeah, I've never heard of anything like it. So I think it sounds really smart and useful, and
and we'll definitely add a link to this as well.
Yes.
So
Yes.
the actors watching can contact you and find out more about those classes and when you have them available and all that good info they'll need, for sure, because it is a really interesting concept and something that few acting schools talk about. We talk about beauty and stillness and that sort of thing. And of course, cameras here a lot of times, but there's a lot of language going on just here, right, Faye? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, and
so, just so much is happening right in here. We can tell when someone's lying just by their eyes. And so actors have to be able to share their lie. Again, everything they do in front of the camera is a lie. They have to be able to share that lie and make it look like it's the truth. So it doesn't have to be a big circus act. That's not what we're we're endorsing, but we can't lose the visual aspect of it, because that's where we can tell if it's a truth or a lie. So
I feel like I'm just going to call you from now on, Faith.
Well, sometimes people call me and they're like, can you read my X? And I'm like, if I could read X's, I'd have read my own, you know?
Oh my God, right? That's
I got
so crazy.
One of the most common things that, and I'm sure, Rose, I know we've been in a couple rooms on Clubhouse, is, you know, everyone in the industry is always encouraging people to train. And there's not really going to be a point in an actor's career where they stop training. You know, even celebrities have coaches. They might not necessarily be in open group classes or posting about it, but they are still training just as much. And so I personally get frustrated when an actor will, let's say they book something and then they're like, I've made it, I'm done. And I'm like,
That's
no.
just ridiculous. It's just the start.
You're just beginning. You're just beginning.
Exactly.
The moment you stop learning and growing is the moment your career is over. I don't care what career that is. I don't care if you're a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, an actor. It makes no difference. The moment you choose to stop learning and become stagnant, you have just killed your career.
I mean, think of all that we've had to go through as casting directors. I don't know about you guys, but I started out on VHS tapes.
Yeah. 1/4 inch, 3/4
right?
inch. Remember the Holy Bible size ones?
Yes.
Yeah, crazy. And then CDs and FTP sites, it was crazy. And so I am beholden to the casting software people. I love them.
Yeah.
It's made life so much easier and given us options. You know, like when an actor sends in a self-record, if they can't decide between 2 different takes, send them both and let us choose.
Send them both. I'm all about sending them both. Give me 2 separate clips. But yeah, send them both.
But you know, back when we would audition people and you had the big VHS tape in the camcorder, right? Like there was no like cut and getting rid of a take or whatever.
No.
Like once it was on there, like unless you went back over it, it was that they were going to see it no matter how bad it was.
Oh
right?
yeah.
You know,
all they could do was fast forward, and it wasn't very fast.
No.
It wasn't very fast.
You know, I really like, speaking of options, I really like that we have options now as casting directors on what platform we are using for our things. And you know, it used to be that there was kind of just like the one and then another one came along and that was kind of a big deal. But now, now it's like we have choices.
Right.
And I think that, and I don't know if we want to talk about those different options, but we're really loving casting workbooks. We think that that's a really robust and all-purpose type software that we've really embraced.
It is beautiful software. I've come out, you know, talking about that many times over. I am loving them. And it's just, it's funny, you know, how people just don't like the change. And, but, you know, here we are, we're all pivoting and changing. And I say, use all the tools. That's the thing,
exactly.
You know, whatever I can get my hands on, I am going to use it. I have probably 5 or 6 different casting softwares in my computer, and we all do. And it just depends on, probably 10 if you consider all the different things, but it just depends on what you're doing at that moment. Right. Sometimes something simple like We Audition works. Sometimes you need casting networks. In Florida, they have a lot of talent on that platform, so it's easy to get the word out there. They don't have the virtual audition software in there, so then you go to casting workbooks. But just like we're telling the actors to learn and grow, we're doing the same thing. Yeah, that's the thing. And we're going in the Clubhouse, me and Bella. Faith and Kim sometimes join in, and we're learning and growing and finding the kumbaya in our industry, and it's nice. And you know, great. Yeah, for those of you in the Clubhouse, follow us. Huh?
We should talk about proper actor etiquette in Clubhouse. I only go in occasionally, and it might be true for Kim too, I don't know, but like sometimes Actors can be kind of, rude. And it's
Aggressive.
like I'm sitting there thinking, I'm volunteering my time to come in here and share with you all. And then when actors are disrespectful or rude or negative, and it's like, what?
And
So,
you wonder why you're not making it in the business, right? So
Exactly.
like, give me a little more help than I can give you on
Right.
on social media.
Funny. I think
But
I
I
tune those
think
people
for
out.
the-
I don't even hear stuff like that.
Well,
Well,
what's
sometimes
interesting,
they'll
thank
ask
you-
you specifically a question, and then they'll have some negative thing to say because they don't like your answer. And I know none of us in particular are mean, because we love actors, and we'll say, even if we have to say the truth that we know might hurt, we're going to say it in the nicest way possible.
Right.
But still, maybe it's not what they want to hear.
Right.
Be nice.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Yes.
Like, like
Well,
us back, we're kind to you. Don't assume that that we're against you. There's a lot of that. I do think a lot of actors, it's kind of like old school kind of thinking. A lot of actors think that casting directors are a gateway. You hear that a lot. Like, I got to get through the casting director first. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm like shoving your ass through the gate. Like, I want
Right.
you to be successful. Like, I spent all this time getting, watching this, looking at that, setting up your audition. Yeah, I'm not trying to keep you out. I got like a
we are
cattle.
trying to get you work. That is
Yes.
our job. That is our number one job, to get them to see you in your best light all the time. And
Right.
that's all we could tell them.
And I
But-
think social media has helped with that, because if an actor chooses to follow me on my personal page, they will see my fashion, my dog, my hobbies. And I think it helps them realize, like, ah, shit, casting directors are real people. Like, what? And so I think it's
funny.
helped. I think it's helped the actors see that, like, when we say we want you to succeed, we truly do want you to succeed.
We do.
I agree.
We do.
Well, ladies, you are wonderful as always. I just adore you both.
So
I
great.
know that. And after this COVID, the four of us are definitely going to get together and have some fun. But
Yes.
thank you so much for joining us. You've been just the absolute best guests.
Thank you. Thank you. Make sure you follow these ladies on their socials. We'll drop all their handles in the blurb, and don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. Thanks for coming.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.